the Porter Cable PCB220TS table saw. This is a very inexpensive and powerful saw that I really love to use. It has one major problem, however, and that is its insert. The way these guys have designed the insert is that it's got this very funny pattern. They do not sell a zero clearance insert and or throat plate as it's called, and it's very difficult to make a zero clearance throat plate for this. If you pull out this insert, for example, you can see that it's got this very funny weird looking place where it rests. They have this little metal piece over here, which is good, it looks great, but when you come over from this side, they have this little support over here which is very narrow, and over here they have this thing that bulges. So this is what I'm starting with, this piece of wood. When it's done, I hope that it's going to make a wonderful insert. Of getting my hands cut off here, and there's nothing along here. And they do not sell an insert, as I told you before. So I've been wondering how to make a zero clearance throat plate for a while. The problem with this thing is that it's fine for cutting big pieces, but if you ever want to cut a small piece or do fine work, or cut a very narrow piece or a very small piece, then of course the piece will fall into this slot, and then it's you're not going to get much out of it. So I looked at a couple of patterns on the web. People have made some zero clearance throat plates for this, but that requires sophisticated equipment that I do not possess. I thought I should fall back to the what I do have, which is wood, and find a way to make this work. So this is what the finished product looks like. You can see it fits fairly snugly. Right, here's a better view of it when it's removed from the saw, and here's what the underside looks like. So this is what I'm starting with, this piece of wood. When it's done, I hope that it's going to make a wonderful insert. For those who are interested, these are the very sophisticated plans that I drew for making this happen. The first thing I did was mark out a section of wood 2 inches by 12¼ inches. Then I used my saw and crosscut sled to cut it down to the dimensions I wanted. Using my jointer, I'm going to plane down one side of the wood. Hey, so now it's time for the router. We're going to route out about 3 by 32 of an inch on this side so that it fits nicely against the underside of the existing throat plate. So I set up my router, and I have adjusted the height of this cutting blade to be exactly what the height of the zero clearance throat plate, or this throat plate, sorry, so that I can make a groove that's exactly the same thickness as this one. Now, in order for this to fit properly, I had to account for this little bulgy bit over here. So the piece is going to fit kind of like this. So I need to remove a little bit of little piece here. So I'm going to remove a piece of wood about 2 inches deep versus about 1 1/8 inches wide. I'm going to use my jigsaw to cut out that little piece I mentioned earlier. I have to be a bit careful here because this is not. I'm just going to do it by hand without putting on any jig. It's okay if it's not perfect. Okay, now we are getting somewhere. We have this piece that's gonna fit, let me see now, right here, like this. Okay, but there's still a little bit of a problem because it turns out that the Porter cable throat plate has a little bulge here for reasons I don't quite comprehend. So I need to go back to my router and take out a little bit of a little piece about here that is going to fit over this one. There's a little bit of a gap here where I screwed up with the routing, as you can see, but by and large, it does look in great shape. So now the next step is for me to drill a few holes through here and countersink them. This is the part where I apologize to you for screwing up, because I did not tape my next few steps where I drilled some holes through this throat plate to fit my the wood part underneath this. So as you can see, I have drilled 5 holes here, and when I'm done, I'm going to screw, put flathead screws through these holes to make sure the wood stays attached to the metal part. Now, a couple of things that you need to understand about this. I am using a number 6 flathead bolt here for this purpose. As you can see, when I'm done, the flat part of the bolt fits snugly against the throat plate. There's no gap here. In order to do this, after drilling the hole just enough to fit this, I used one of these countersinks to make a sort of a pyramid shaped or inverse pyramid shaped hole here, so that the flat part of the screw can fit snugly. Now, here's the important part. You need to make sure that the angle that you're using for your countersink matches the angle of the screw you're using. If you don't, the screw won't fit flush. I am using SAA screws, and the angle of these SAA screws is 82 degrees. So an SAA countersink will work fine. If you're using a metric screw, the angle of the screw is 90 degrees, and you need to make sure you're using a metric countersink. In order to make sure that my bolts go in exactly where they're supposed to, I'm going to use some double-sided tape to initially stick this wood to the bottom of the metal, so that I can drill my holes in the wood in exactly the place they're supposed to be. It's done, and it's perfect. The next step is drilling. I'm going to use my drill press that you see behind you, hopefully, to drill holes in the wood at exactly the same place as these holes are. Okay, done. I drilled the 5 holes perfectly in line with the wood. Now I can just... Okay, so now we need to be able to drill, or rather cut a hole in this section of the wood with the thing positioned over the blade like this. The problem, of course, is that it's kind of hard to position this because the wood actually hits the blade right here. So, but I want to make sure that the blade comes up and cuts off only just enough to make the wood. So I can't actually place the thing where it's supposed to be and cut that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually screw this piece of wood on top of the zero clearance insert like this, and put it here, then bring this saw up, make a cut where I want to, and then I will put this underneath where it's supposed to be. Okay, there we have it. It's screwed onto the top of the metal insert, and I'm going to mount it on top of something like this. So now what I'm going to do is turn the saw on and have the blade come up so that it cuts a hole right in the middle exactly where I want it to. But here's the problem. When the saw is going to come up, it's going to put a lot of upward force on this piece, and it's going to actually just come off unless I'm careful. So I need to put something on top of this to hold this down so that it doesn't just fly off the thing like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a piece of wood over here and clamp it down on both sides here so that this piece stays where it's supposed to be. We're not quite done yet though, because I do need to mount this in the right place and then bring the saw all the way up. I have mounted this on the right place and I want to see how this fits. As you can see, I screwed up a little bit out here for some reason that I can't quite understand. I seem to have made a mistake in my measurements and I left a little gap here, but that's okay. It's not perfect. The next time I make one, it's going to be better. But for now, this does what I want. I can raise the saw, it comes up nicely right where it's supposed to be, and I am going to now raise it all the way to make sure. Well, there you have it, a zero clearance throat plate for the Porter Cable Tablesaw. I hope you had as much fun watching as I had making it. Thank you.